How many of you have flown first class? Yeah. Glorious. So we went to Hawaii a few weeks ago, stayed a week. It was incredible. But this time, we didn't sit in coach, didn't sit in comfort plus, didn't sit in comfort. Sat in first class. And first time I've ever done it. It doesn't just happen inside the plane. It happens on the approach. As soon as you walk in to the airport, it's like you have this invisible crown on your head. And people treat you so much different. When you check in your baggage, they smile. They don't charge you. You walk to the gate. You walk to the gate where people are just kind of, grumbling, oh, the plane's going to be late. And those of us who were in first class, it's like we had this little get-together where we were talking and we were sharing pictures of our kids and we were talking about everything and everyone was happy and because we knew that glory was right around the corner. And then the airport attendant says, okay, folks, we're going to start boarding the plane now. We're going to start with the people who we really love. The ones we sacrifice for day after day. And we'd like them to board first, and so they welcome you, they take your ticket, they make sure that you're really supposed to be there, and you walk down the jetway, and instead of just people getting all ready, it's like they stop and they bow, right? You get to the door of the airplane, and the stewardess, if you just sit in one of the regular seats, the stewardess says, oh, welcome, 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 fake smile. But when we got there, we were given an embrace. This guy hugged me, and it was like the rule at Disney. If you're on the cast and you're wearing a costume, if a kid comes up and hugs you, the rule at Disneyland for cast members is you can't let go until the kid lets go. That's what they do. And this guy, he must have been a cast member because he held me. He gave me an embrace like none other. And it was awkward for a second, but he finally, he released, and then he said, now, Mr. Cantrell, your seats are right here. And it's just a single digit. It's not like 12B, 12A, it's not 24A. It's, you're right here in 4B. And you'll be sitting with your wife. There's only 2 seats. There's no middle. There's 2 seats, and they're not even seats. They're like a lazy boy recliner. And he said, Mr. Cantrell, we have a hot towel, and, a warm towel, a cool towel. I don't know why. But we have 3 towels. We have a cold water. In my seat, there was a little golden retriever puppy. It was amazing. It was amazing. And we sit down and we look at all the amenities and they're right there. Would you like something to eat? Oh, yeah, do you have crackers? No. Crackers are for the back. You can have whatever you want. You want oysters? We got oysters. Yeah, you want scallops? Would you like a ribeye before everyone comes on? They treat you like, and then after we get all settled in, the flight attendant gets up to the front and he says, now, folks, we're going to start boarding everyone else now. And our suggestion to you is that you just keep looking straight ahead. Don't make eye contact with these folks. Just look straight ahead. Let them go past you. Don't say anything. You may want to close your eyes. You may just chill, and then the folks start coming on, and you can feel the glare. They're looking at you like, you cheat on your taxes. That's how you got here. You're not a Christian. You're not supposed to be up here. And it just goes, and then the people in the back of the plane, of course, they board last, and they start throwing things. They get their little straw thing, and they throw them at you, and it's uncomfortable. And you hear the argument, the flight attendant, no, you must store everything in the upper storage compartment. But it's my baby. No, the baby has to go up there too. But while we're up there, it's glorious. It was 5 hours of bliss. I hardly even remember. It was just amazing. And when I got this topic to talk about envy, I thought, this is the perfect example. This is the perfect example. Desire and envy, 2 different things. They may walk past you and say, gosh, it'd be great to sit in that seat. Isn't that a great seat, honey? That's a great seat. Wow, maybe next time. That's desire. Envy is, you should not be there. I should. I should be in that seat, not you. Envy is all about subtraction, taking something away so you can get there. Envy is about getting to the back of the plane and saying, hey, that guy in 2B, he's a Russian spy, he has a fake passport. You may want to, and so you can sneak up there. That's envy. Envy is having not just a desire to have what someone else has. Envy is angry. And compared to the other sins that we've been talking about in this series, envy is the only one. Here's the goofy thing. Envy is the only one that doesn't make you feel good. You look at the other sins that we've been hidden in this series, and I love the animal thing, and you did too, so I thought I'd do it again. So pride. What's pride? Animal. There you go. Lion. So I love myself. I love puffing myself up. I love looking better than everyone else. That makes me feel good. Pride. Next one. Greed. What's greed? I had a tough time with this one, but I found the hyena. So have you ever seen those National Geographic deals where you got all these, and they're going after whatever their prey is, and they're just fighting and fighting. I want more, I want more. Greed can make you feel pretty good because you get more stuff. Greed, it can make you feel good for a sec. After greed, gluttony. Now, there are a lot of options here. What I settled on was the bear. I mean, what better life is there? Most of the year, 9 months out of the year, all you do is eat, and then you just go to sleep for 3 months. It's like Thanksgiving, right? I mean, you just consume, and that feels pretty good for a sec. After greed, after gluttony, wrath. This was tough too, but I settled on the crocodile. You know, crocodiles kill like 20,000 people a year. I made that up. I don't know if they do or not, but I know they kill people, right? So, it's just angry. I'm going to wait till that person gets in, and I'm going to have my way with that person, and that's going to make me feel good. Wrath, and sometimes we get like that. I'm going to do something crazy to that person, and that'll make you feel good for a second. Okay, wrath, and then sloth. Don't send me email. I don't read them. I don't. Last time I did the cat thing, we love cat. I don't care. Okay, sloth, and then lust. And I mean, if you were in 4-H, you get what I'm talking about. Okay, let me just tell you, if you're listening online, hit pause or stop and go back to the NC Church website and listen to the message that Jordan gave on lust. I have heard hundreds of sermons on, sexual immorality and how we're goofed up sexually and lust. I've heard hundreds. Jordan absolutely nailed it. It was such a great message. So I encourage you to go back, listen to that one. He just did an amazing job. But all of these sins that we've hit on, they can produce a feeling of happiness. I feel better, even if it's just for a second. I am going to do something that isn't the right thing to do, but it's going to give me some joy. It's going to give me some momentary satisfaction. Envy, on the other hand, envy does none of that. Envy does none of that. You never feel good when it comes to envy because you just get angry and you get bitter, and bitterness is what messes us up because it festers, it grows, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to get past because we just want to stay in that place because we feel as if we are powerful. We feel as if we are powerful. And what happens is we convince ourselves that being powerful is better than being powerless. We convince ourselves that as long as we are firm in how we feel, even if it's bad, that's better for us. It makes us feel better than being powerless and giving up something. Very first story in the Bible. Go way back to Genesis. You got Adam, you got Eve. God created Adam, God created Eve. God said, okay, there's a couple of things that I need to go over some things. And the biggie was, hey, you don't eat that fruit from that tree. Just don't do it. What happens? We know, right? Eve eats the apple or whatever it was. Adam eats the apple. God shows up. Hey, I only gave you a couple things to do. What's up? Well, she made me do it. Here we go. And God says, okay, we're done. No more paradise. We are done. You're going to be banished. You're going to have to work for a living. You're going to have to buy a home at 8% interest. You're going to have a couple of kids without the help of a therapist. You are going to live in a much different way. And so Adam and Eve have a couple of kids after they leave paradise. Here is the story in Genesis. 2 kids, Cain and Abel. When it came time for Cain to bring an offering to God, Cain his job was to be a farmer. He worked out in the fields, he raked and he hoed and he shoveled and he worked really hard. And then you had Abel. Abel was a shepherd, so he hung out with sheep all day. Cain brought an offering to God from the produce of his farm. Abel also brought an offering, but from the firstborn animals of his herd, choice cuts of meat. God liked Abel and his offering, but Cain and his offering didn't get his approval. Cain lost his temper and went into a sulk. God spoke to Cain, why the tantrum? Why the sulking? If you do well, won't you be accepted? And if you don't do well, sin is lying in wait for you, ready to pounce. It's out to get you. You have to master it. Cain had words with his brother. They were out in the field. Cain came at Abel, his brother, and killed him. God said to Cain, where is Abel, your brother? He said, how do I know? Am I his babysitter? God said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is calling to me from the ground. Here's a crazy thing. Oh, if you're a parent, you've read stories to your kids before they go to bed. Bedtime stories, right? And they're like, once upon a time. Well, here's the crazy thing. Adam and Eve didn't have any stories. They had one story. There were no other people. There was no goodnight moon. There was none of that. It was just, here's the story. Me and your mom, we were in paradise. What's paradise? It's not this. And God made us, and he put us in this beautiful place called the Garden of Eden. And he told us that we could not do one thing, and your mother... And because we did what he didn't want us to do, because we didn't honor him, here we are. The end. So, the whole point of that story was we didn't honor God. That was the whole point of the story. But here we have Cain and Abel, who are now adults or older, juvenile. They were in there, maybe they're 15, 16, 17. And when given the opportunity to honor God with their offering, they mess it up. Cain brings God as an offering some of his crop, not the best, not the most amazing portion. He just brings some of it. And God said, Abel brings firstborn, brings the finest lamb to God. And God chose lamb chops instead of broccoli. Because he knew that Abel brought the best. He knew that Abel did what would honor him most. And Cain didn't like that. Cain got upset. Cain, I should be in first class. Why is God honoring my lousy brother? I'm the one that works hard for a living. I'm the one out there sweating. I'm the one out there working the soil. I'm the one that's trying to figure out how to grow the best stuff. My brother hangs out in a field with a bunch of sheep. Why am I not getting God's blessing, and my brother is. I should be there. He should not be there. Subtraction. He shouldn't be there. I should, and that festered. So you have the first story of envy, which turns into the first story of bitterness, which results in the first murder recorded in the Bible. Do you think that's a big deal? Maybe that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. And that bitterness is what kills us. I mean, we could talk about envy, but what envy produces when we fall in that line of being envious of someone else because of what they have, we get bitter. And the bitterness is what kills us. Doesn't make us feel good, but man, we get stuck on it. Here's what we have convinced ourselves when it comes to bitterness. Bitterness is my way of staying strong. The more bitter I can be, the more I can build that up, I'm going to be stronger than that other person. My bitterness towards someone else gives me power over them. The meaner I can be, the more upset I can be, man, I am so strong and powerful. Bitterness locks out my pain. If I can be bitter, if I can stay on that road of bitterness, I'm going to be just fine. I'm not going to hurt anymore because if I can hate more than I can hurt, I am stronger. The truth about bitterness. The truth is, my bitterness locks out any potential for joy. The more bitter I am, the less opportunity I'm going to have to be joyful. My bitterness locks out any potential for peace. We will never experience peace when we focus more on bitterness. My bitterness locks out any potential for growth. We cannot grow if we stay in that lane of bitterness. And the truth is, we know this stuff. We know this stuff, yet for so many of us, we can hold on to something for so long. We can be so upset with the fact that he has that car, that she has him, that he has that job. I should be the one to have that car. I should be the one that should have gotten the promotion. I should be the one who is successful, not her. Here's what we've really convinced ourselves. Here's the crazy thing. We believe that we are more powerful in a negative situation than being powerless in a positive situation. It's better for us to be powerful in a negative situation than it is for us to be powerless in a positive situation. Let that marinate for just a second. You ever seen these videos of a guy getting down on a knee and proposing to his girlfriend in like a stadium, right? 40,000 people, and he calls the PR company or the PR people for the stadium before they go, and he said, "Hey, this is going to be an amazing moment. You're going to want to get this. You are going to want to get this. It's going to happen in the third inning. I'm sitting right over there. Make sure the cameras are on." And so at the appointed time, cameras are on him. He gets down on one knee and he proposes, and the crowd goes wild, and it's beautiful. The videos I like is when she says no. I think that's so cool. It's like it's just, no, what do you do? You're stupid, and then she realizes she's on the camera, and then she runs away. It is, what's going to happen next? I know, I'm kind of sick. But that's what what happens is when he gets down on a knee, he becomes completely powerless. He has no control whatsoever in a situation that could become the most incredible moment in his life. When we tell someone, I love you, you're just kind of throwing it out there, and the other person can say whatever they want, and it could be bad. But when we are angry, when we feel as though we have power in a negative situation, it never turns out well, ever. But we will try harder and harder and harder to be more and more powerful. Leslie and I were going, we like to, when we can, we get away, we go up north because we like to golf, and we want to get out of the heat, and so we'll go up to Monterey or Pebble Beach or whatever, and we'll stay a few days. And it's so nice to leave here and to get there. The closer we get to our destination, life is better. There is more peace. We sing songs. We eat crackers. It's just so. So a couple of years ago, we were heading up there, and we had to get off the freeway to get to our hotel. We've been driving a long time. We get off the freeway, smiles, everything's beautiful. And we were, there were 3 lanes after we got off the freeway, the stop sign, and over here in this lane, they went that way. And the 2 cars, us and another car, we were over here on the right lane. And right when the light turned green, the car behind us jets around us, and it all happened so fast. It was like, whoa, what's going on? He jets around us, and the car on this side jets ahead. So here we are back here, just kind of, what in the world? And we're watching this. All of a sudden, the car that was behind us, there's a gun. The guy in the passenger seat has a gun. And he's pointed at the guy who was right here. And we're like, no, this is supposed to be peaceful. Now, there wasn't any gunfire or anything, but crazy road rage. Crazy road rage. And they just kept on going, and we're like, what just happened? Are we still in the valley? Are we not in paradise? Are we still back there? It was awful. But what was happening is that guy with the gun was amping up his power, pointing a gun at another guy, and even if he had accomplished his goal, it was still bad. The feelings that he had when he pointed that gun were not feelings of love and compassion and grace. It was bitterness. But we have still convinced ourselves that being bitter, that when we are so focused on that, we are stronger than the other person, the target of our bitterness. That's envy. And it'll kill us. So how do we avoid being envious? Because it's in our DNA. That's just part of the deal. It is natural. If you've struggled with this, don't think that you're special or different. We all deal with it. That's just part of the deal. And I'll get to that. But I want to talk, I just want to, just a little sidebar on the issue of sin, because we're talking about sin, and I want to say just a couple of words about sin. So I was raised in a pretty conservative religious environment. I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church, not say Southern Baptist Church, but this Southern Baptist Church. It was very, very, very conservative. And went to college down south. Some of you may have gone to Point Loma. When I went, there was some pretty, there was no, right now at Point Loma, you have dorms with girls and boys. That was, no. We had to sign something, I won't dance, I won't chew, or date girls who do. We couldn't, it was pretty strict. And that's just how I that was my, kind of my religious life for a long, long time. And I remember when as a kid, what I heard was when the pastor talked about sin. Now, he may not have, but that's just what I heard. Sin is wrong, and when you sin, you have to go to the corner, and you have to stay there until you've learned your lesson. When you sin, you are bad, and maybe you will get good again, but not right now. And see, what I've learned is, if you're a believer, if you have signed on to this God thing, if you look to Jesus as your Lord and Savior, if you are a Christian, when you became a Christian, did you stop sinning? No. You may have cut back. You didn't stop. You didn't stop, right? In fact, Paul, who we credit for basically following the Jesus model and starting the whole idea of church, Paul said this in Romans. He said, "For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God." It doesn't follow up with, but as you get closer to God, sin is not going to be an issue. When you get really good at this following God thing, hey, trust me, it's not going to be an issue anymore. For all have sinned and all will sin, and we will always fall short of the glory of God. All these 7 deadly sins that we're talking about, don't go down the checklist and say, okay, well, there's that one, but I'm good on all these other ones. No. God, I'm glad I'm never going to have to deal with that sin anymore. Careful. God, my plan is to never, ever do this again. Hey, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Because we are always going to struggle, some more than others, with one of these, envy being one of them. It's our DNA. We are a fallen people. It started with Adam and Eve, and it ain't ever going to change. This is how it is. And in the Old Testament, we read story after story after story after story of people who choose to make the wrong decision, and they are punished by God. Jonah doesn't follow God's instructions, doesn't honor God, ends up in the belly of a whale. That's his sin. That was his corner. David sees a married woman. He says, hey, she's going to be mine. He goes after her husband, has him killed in battle so that he could be with Bathsheba. But then firstborn, she has a baby with David. Baby's dead. That was his corner. And so over and over and over and over and over again, you see these stories of people who sin and they are punished. Some killed, some lose a baby, some end up in a whale. Sin corner, sin corner, sin corner, sin corner. Jesus shows up, and some people will tell you, some places of worship, some pastors will say, Jesus showed up, and that's why we have the New Testament, and so you can forget about the Old Testament, old stuff. Jesus didn't do that. Jesus didn't show up and say, hey, I'm here now. We're gonna do something new. Forget about all that stuff in the Old Testament. That was my dad. He always went too far. He always went to forget about that stuff. Now, sin all you want. I'm all about grace and forgiveness. Do not worry about no more sin corner. Everyone's happy. This is going to be great. No. Jesus came along and said, yeah, this sin stuff, yeah. They dealt with it. You're going to deal with it. But I have come to teach you how to change the way you think. I want you to change the way you think about sin. I don't want you to think anymore about sin corner, sin corner, sin corner, sin corner. I want you to reframe your mind, to defrag your head, to take all of the things that you had learned about in the scriptures. I want you to think about it in a different way. I came not to create more rules, but to create relationship. I want us to have a relationship with one another so that the idea of doing things that aren't right will not be eliminated, but you will look at them in a different way as our relationship grows. I love the story of the woman at the well. That's what, if I'm asked to teach and they say, do whatever you want, I talk about the woman at the well. These Pharisees, these religious, upstanding religious people, they find a woman or they seek a woman, they hunt her down and they see her sleeping around. And they kidnap her, and they take her and they throw her in front of Jesus, and they say, hey, the law says that women who sleep around should be stoned to death. We caught her. We got the pictures to prove it. And so they look at Jesus and say, okay, scriptures say this has to happen. What are you going to do? And the story goes that Jesus takes a stick or whatever, and he goes down, he writes some things in the dirt, and many people believe that he was writing down the sins of those Pharisees who wanted to have her stoned to death, and one by one, they walked away because Jesus said, hey, any of you who don't have any sin, that person can throw the first stone. And they just walked away. And then it's just Jesus and the woman. That had to be an awkward moment. First of all, you have Jesus claiming to be the Messiah, and you got caught, and everyone else is gone. Now what's going to happen? And Jesus says, you've been forgiven. Your faith has put us to the point where you are forgiven because I am all about grace. And he says, now go and sin no more. And so reading it just like that, he said, now, I saved you this time. Next time it ain't going to be so easy. Next time I could be 300 miles away, then what's going to happen? Now, don't screw up again. Keep it clean, woman. No. He says, go and sin no more. But as I look at the life of Jesus and what he came to do and what he taught, I believe it was more about him saying, you don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to stray. You don't have to be in this lifestyle. You don't have to do these things. You and I can have a relationship that allows you to stay on a path because you will understand my love and my grace. And when that relationship is strong, life outside of that relationship will look different. See, when we struggle with people, and trust me, I struggle with people. When we struggle with people, when this isn't working, it's likely because this isn't working. When this is working, it gets easier to deal with this. Now that's sin. As I see it, that is sin. And when it comes to envy, the only way we can escape envy, the only way we can avoid envy that leads to that bitterness is to stop focusing on ourselves and focusing on this. Because when we have this working, when we understand what grace looks like, how Jesus looks at everyone and says, I love you, I don't care what you've done, I don't care where you've been, it doesn't matter, I still love you, I still want relationship with you. It's hard for us to be bitter towards someone else. When we realize how much we've been given, how loved we are, it is much more difficult to be angry at the guy in first class. It is much more difficult to have that, to have that negative energy. It's hard. You got to really work at it. When we were there, I went out and the first morning I went out and I did my 8-mile run. That's a lie. I did my 1.5-mile walk. And I was walking down the street and there was this house and it had a for sale sign. And I was like, oh yeah, Leslie and I are looking for an investment property. This could be it. Had this 12-foot wall, right? And a big sign that says, no solicitors, trust us, we're fine. We're good. And there was the little thing, you could look at the flyer. And, I pull out the flyer and I'm looking at it. And what's on the other side of that wall? A Garden of Eden. I mean, just amazing. Asking price, $11.5 million. You know how much, if you were to stack up $1, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I found myself, I walking away 11. Who can afford 11.5? Who are these people? I know they cheat on their taxes. I know that it's mommy and daddy's money. I know that they didn't earn what I work really hard. Why can't I? They don't deserve this. And here I am just working it up. But instead, when we can look at things that maybe we want, and instead of making it about I deserve, but celebrating the fact that someone is enjoying something, wow, that's a different way. That's changing the way we think. That is an attitude of gratefulness, being appreciative, understanding how much we've been given. When we do that, it's hard. It's hard to get bitter against someone else. Pull up that QR code. If you have an hour this week, if you have a smartphone, you know what to do here. If you have a flip phone from the Clinton years, you won't know what to do. Find a friend. But pull that up. That'll take you to a list of AA meetings. I love doing this. Those are all the AA meetings that happen in our area in a given week. And if you have no issue with alcohol whatsoever, this is for you. I want you to go. You folks that have your issues, you and I can talk and yeah, it's a good place. But I want people that never have these issues. I want you to pull that, and I want you to go to one. Here's what you'll see. Someone will get up, and they will open the meeting, and they'll talk about what their life was like, what happened, and how life is different now. And people will listen, and then after that, a few people will see what have anyone to share. And one guy will say, hey, I'm John, I'm an alcoholic. And everyone else says, welcome, John. And John will tell his story. John will talk about what he is struggling with and where he wants to be. And is everyone happy and joyful? No. They're real. And after story after story after story after story, you will hear a story of gratefulness. You will hear one guy saying, I am just glad I'm here. I am 5 minutes sober. And people will look at him and say, way to go. Glad you're here. You will hear stories of people being so grateful that they're not behind the bars. I'm talking about jail bars. That they have gotten to the point where they can actually walk into a door and experience the help and grace and love of other people who have been there. There is this sense of gratitude that just overwhelms you. You'll walk in and you'll say, wow, man, this is church. I mean, they don't do the God and the Jesus thing, and I mean, they're missing a pretty big component, but wow, isn't this great that we are in a place that just kind of eliminates that whole envy and bitterness. You listen to those stories and you're like, man, I want what they have. I want to be where he is. It's not about taking that away from someone. It's about wanting to join in that. It's gratefulness. And sometimes we stink at that. Trust me, if you're here this morning and you drove a car, be grateful. If you're here this morning and you rode a bike, if you're here this morning and you walked, be grateful. If you woke up this morning, be grateful. If your family loves you, even 10%, be grateful. Envy resides in the pool of ungratefulness, and we will drown every time. If this is your struggle, if you're here this morning, you say, oh man, that's me. Welcome to the club. Envy resides in the pool of ungratefulness, and we will drown every time. When it comes to envy and how it leads to bitterness, my challenge is that you focus on what you've been given. How God has loved you even though you don't deserve it, because trust me, you don't, neither do I. But he loves you so much, he gave his life for you, and that's the story of the church. Focus on that, life gets different. You change the way you think. Let's pray. God, thank you for your love and your mercy, especially when we are in many ways, losers when it comes to dealing with life and other people. I pray that for all of us who suffer and deal with all the things that you tell us to avoid because it breaks the relationship we have with you, I pray that all of us spend some time focusing on how we can restore that relationship, grow that relationship, put us around other people that want the same thing, love you more because you love us most. We ask this in your Son's precious and holy name. Amen.